You've got to hear this, Sharp. What do we got? Okay, so Senator Marsha Blackburn from Tennessee. She tweeted about 5 hours ago. We've ran the numbers, and here's your receipt, Miss Pelosi, Mr. Schumer. This is the Democrats' COVID relief wish list. $335 million for the arts, museums, and library services. $50 million to services including Planned Parenthood. Another $50 million for climate justice, in quotes. And the icing on the cake, $112 million to Pelosi's Subway.
Excuse me? Pelosi's Subway.
Eat fresh?
We're thinking of that. Either that or some people are speculating about some public transit or something. Nobody seems to understand where the fuck Marsha Blackburn got this Pelosi Subway thing.
What? Pelosi Subway?
And what's worse is
Pelosi spending all that money on sub sandwiches?
That's what some people are suggesting. But here's the thing too. Just those 4 bullet points out of 1.9 trillion in tax dollars. That's less than a minuscule percentage of the whole budget.
Oh, Jesus.
Some people said it's not even in the 10th decimal place. One of them was like, it was 0.3% of the whole damn thing. And one person suggested that it's about Baltimore, Maryland, which, as you and I have known for traveling to BronyCon. Wait, did you go to BronyCon there, Sharp, when it was a thing?
No, I've never gone.
Okay. Baltimore is relatively a 35-minute train ride from Washington, D.C. via Union Station. And you think, well, what's this got to do with anything? One person is suggesting and hoping that this money is allocated for the Purple Line in Baltimore, because Baltimore has quite a public transit system, although it does need work. Especially since at the last year of BronyCon, there was that sinkhole and it disabled the tram service and threw everything for a fucking spin. And they think that with $112 million, this will go to the Purple Line in Baltimore, which can create some infrastructure jobs, can help people get a hold of other jobs that they can use this line to, and who knows? I'm also kind of fucking. I'm also surprised nobody else thought of this too. I think what Marsha Blackburn is also wishing for is burning the libraries, and I think somebody was like, "Yeah, we've reached the point where the GOP does not want to send any money to the libraries. Fuck them. Let them burn. Do we need books? Fuck no. We need." I imagine this part of the whole thing. Just dumb everybody down and accept the fact that they might be, voter suppressed, maybe. That's me, though. Oh, there we go. Another tweet from Marsha. The radical left's COVID-19 relief wish list funnels more money towards hashtag blue state bailouts and abortions than funding to get our children back in school. Seems like their priorities are misplaced.
Yes.
I want to see what people are saying about this. Yeah,
yes.
Somebody
further use in yes, more priority in preventing future generations than enlightening future generations.
Well, if we're not careful with this shit, we might still end up ending future generations before we even get them blossoming into full-grown adults. Because the way Biden is handling it, sadly, if teachers are not mandated to vaccinate, that might fucking bite us in the ass.
That might be horrible. Yeah.
Yes.
Getting rid of
one too.
like
Thank
not
God,
mandating
Helios.
teachers vaccinate. That's horrible.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
That could spread disease.
I know.
So where is she getting this information?
Fuck if I know.
Sounds like from her ass.
And then also on this list,
Twitter
much
should be-
more
Tw-
undescriptive
Twitter
amount of
should
money.
be slapping a may contain false information on those tweets, I swear.
She's also tweeted about sometime later saying the radical left's COVID-19 relief wish list funnels more money towards hashtag blue state bailouts and abortions than funding to get our children back in school, as if the priorities are misplaced.
I actually fucking love it. It's like people just fucking lose their minds when they see that Twitter notification that something may contain false information. They're just like, oh, they're gatekeeping again. Yeah, just to tell you.
I wish there's that
just
shit.
a site
but
outright telling you through Wikipedia articles that what you're saying is wrong is censorship. I love it.
I wish it's still there, because I'm calling bullshit on this until someone here gets a hold of a copy of the stimulus bill. But yeah, Marsha talking about how the wish list will funnel towards unnecessary bullshit.
Yeah,
And,
I saw all this stuff they were talking about the COVID relief bill only being like $1,400, and like
Yeah, the origins of it is that Biden was hoping that if what happened in the last part of December didn't fucking happen, that he would try to work his damnest to get $2,000 out during the campaign trail, right?
yeah.
But we ended up finally coming to an agreement because finally we talked Steve Mnuchin into letting the Federal Reserve send us at least $600.
I think already there was a remediate fuck up, and it has to do with all the bombastic promises that were made on that campaign trail. We are actually quite lucky that the majority of voters did not vote for Biden, hoping that these bombastic promises were kept. But the idea that Donald Trump will no longer be president.
And something pertaining to, and it's going to be revealed in full soon, the assassination of Jamal Khashoggi.
Oh yes, that's gonna be prepared for a lot of very angry Saudis about that one.
I bet there's already going on right now, because CNN got a hold of a few important top secret pieces of paper that linked what's his fucking name? Mohammed bin Salman. I'm about to call him Salami in a moment. That linked
Salami.
Yeah, it linked him to the assassination via a piece of paper some pieces of paper and emails traded between a company that has been seized by him that owns the 2 private jet planes that were used by the assassination squad to kill Khashoggi.
Oof.
So yeah, CNN already getting a hold of that, and we're expecting sooner or later for a full report. Biden has been briefed about it, thank God, but he didn't go into details. At least I don't think he's going to blab it out like an idiot, like the previous idiot.
Obviously, like my big issue here, foreign affairs usually fall to the sidelines because we don't have a very strong international presence. And yes, while international affairs can impact people here, people don't really see firsthand how trade disputes affect the economy.
No, they don't.
So that tends to fall to the wayside. What you do immediately see is how police treat people in your local area, whether or not you're getting the stimulus you wanted, whether or not your tax return has arrived yet. All of those are things that immediately affect you.
Mm-hmm.
I know for a fact I finally got my tax return. On foreign affairs, I'm just not educated. Like when it comes to it, when it comes to it, the kingdom is pretty much all I know about affairs in the Middle East. But when it comes to modern affairs, Myanmar, all this different crap, I'm just thumbs.
Well, let me tell you something. When it comes to the budget, a lot of people, they have a lot of misconceptions about the budget in the sense that they know that, like I said, one of the conservative positions about the budget for a while now, which isn't really held anymore because we've officially given up the position of being fiscally responsible thanks to the previous administration. But the whole idea was that there are things that this country does. You know, there are various social programs that work fine, but there are others that don't work as well and they cost way too much. But because that's always such a nebulous concept, the end result is that you have Americans think that certain things end up taking a lot more out of their taxpayer dollars than they really do. For example, last week we landed a rover on the planet Mars named Perseverance. Mm-hmm. This is a pretty sophisticated spacecraft, one of the most advanced spacecraft we've ever built. It comes with a helicopter drone, if you can believe it, that is going to fly on Mars because we decided let's put a drone on Mars. So obviously the landing was a really, really big deal and everyone was really excited about it. They actually have cameras that took video of the rover being lowered down to Mars from its jet backpack thing, whatever it was. But not even 2 days after the landing, there was a hashtag on the old Twitter with people talking about, like, you know, well, we spent all this money on sending a robot to another planet. We could have spent it on homeless people instead, or given those stimulus checks out. And it's like,
oh Lord,
this is like one of the.
All right, you know what I hate? You know what I hate? It's this constant demand that tax dollars are going to solve everything. Those same people that say, "Oh, my tax dollars could have been used to do this, to do this, to do this." Not one fucking dime from that person's wallet goes towards the causes they're endorsing in that moment. Exactly. Not one dime to a soup kitchen. Not one dime to this. Not one dime to that. How about you lead by example? You go, hey, taxes, I'm kind of donating all this money to a soup kitchen over here. Sure would love some help. I mean, I paid you for it. Like,
exactly. Like, I mean, this always happens whenever there's something big happens in space. People always like going, "Oh my God, we're wasting so much money on this." What not a lot of people realize is that NASA's budget is $25 billion, which sounds like a lot. That's 0.5% of the federal budget.
And I'm not even asking for constant generosity, right? I'll use myself as an example. So when I feel a hole in my heart, or like the world's dropped down a pit, what I tend to do is look for charities, and that's actually how Scarlett introduced me to Lasagna Love. And I didn't give a whole lot of money. It was like $10, right? Negligible. But negligible for me. Now, could you imagine if 10,000 people did that very thing that I did? How many kids are going hungry that night? How many? Not as many. Not as many as there would. You multiply 10,000 by 10. That's $100,000 right there, buddy.
Yeah.
That's $100,000. That's $100,000 worth of meals that can be transported.
But yeah, it's like there's always this sentiment that, like, you know, we got to take care of the Earth first before exploring outer space. And it's like, okay,
I agree with that.
That's fine, you know, that's a reasonable sentiment. But
that's a fine and well argument, especially when they give it in the comedic circumstance of like, Oh, hey, our new dumping ground. I love that one.
Yeah, my always thing is that people always direct it toward the wrong thing because you're directing it toward an agency that doesn't really have any money to begin with. I mean, it seems to me. I mean, it seems to me that these sentiments might be better directed toward the Department of Defense, which takes up 13% of the federal budget with $636 billion.
All that NASA funding. People bitch about that NASA funding, right? But because your money goes towards NASA, your kids can get a grant from NASA if they want. They can establish work study programs there and shit like that because they have the funding to do it.
It goes back into the economy in a sense.
So then when you ask, what's NASA doing for me? NASA's providing your kid with a fucking opportunity if he goes to college. That's one thing.
It actually it does go back to the comment. I think the actual number is that for like every dollar that goes into NASA, it gives back $8 to the economy.
Yeah, like I've never looked into this. What does NASA do for the economy?
Okay, so, well, first of all, there's the obvious answer of it contracts out to various companies and agencies to construct spacecraft for it. So those usually go to a lot of the major aerospace contractors, Lockheed Martin, Boeing, things like that. It also provides jobs for a lot of states down south for the manufacturing of rockets and engines and things of that nature. And also STEM outreach programs to universities, like you mentioned, grants, as well as because like a lot of the stuff on these space probes are actually experiments that are designed by universities with grant money. And most importantly, the technology that you use that NASA develops, if it's efficient enough and applicable enough, finds its way to the public hands. You know, stuff like Tang, Velcro, the GPS system, in a sense. All of that stuff came from things that were developed for use in outer space, and we were like, hey, this actually works pretty good. Maybe we should start using it in our everyday lives as well.
I don't know. I think one virtue I practice that I am definitely going to try to instill into my audience is just giving, like, small amounts of money to charity, right? Like, negligible. Start there, and then we move up, right? Like...
But yeah,
like,
I think it's...
Generosity is a trait you have to learn. Because the way you've been taught is like essentially, oh, what's in it for me? But it's the thing. Once you've given enough, people will start to understand that when you've done that at a rate that doesn't leave you destitute, but enough to feel good about it, I actually genuinely think one of our leading causes to depression is we don't give enough.
I think you might be right.
Like, I think giving actually helps cure depression. Generosity and imagining what you are potentially doing for another person's life or the impact that you are making gives you that boost of serotonin. I think the hormonal blockages of these chemicals is actually led to the genuine state of things or linked to it. Yeah. So then when it's like, oh, well, I give such and such money every month to a charity. I've seen people that brag about how much money they give to charity. And those people don't really have depressive fits, even though they're assholes.
But yeah, to go back to what Gonzo was saying, to go back to what Gonzo was saying, I find it hilarious that, you know, the congressional Republicans who have suddenly rediscovered fiscal conservatism are hand-wringing over Biden's $1.9 trillion COVID bill, which, it's a lot of money. Meanwhile, the $1.7 trillion F35 program has just been declared a failure by the U.S. Air Force. And I don't see a whole lot of Republicans getting up in arms about that.
Oh, man, we spent all that money and we don't get to play with it?
So the F-35, this is a case of I obviously the F-35 is a plane struggling to be brilliant, but held back by idiots and bureaucracy, because the whole point of the F-35 is that it was trying to do an impossible task. So this should actually probably be a show in its own right, and maybe it will be one day if we can ever get Soups back on the line. But the whole thing is that each service in the military has its own fleet of airplanes. So the Air Force has the F-16, the Navy has the F-18, the Marines have the Harrier. That's the one. If you've seen the movie True Lies, that's the one that Arnold Schwarzenegger flies and he shoots the terrorists with the missile and everything like that.
Ooh, I love that film.
Oh yeah, it's a great movie. So these planes are getting very, very old. Okay, the F-16 is past its prime. I mean, nowadays it's all about stealth and radar, and then the F-16 shows up on radar like a small house. Navy planes tend to not last very long because the carrier landing is closer to a controlled crash landing, which causes stress fractures in the wings. And the Harrier's just fucking old. I mean, this plane actually dates back to the invasion of America by the Beatles. Okay, it's ready for retirement. So the whole point of the F-35 was to create a airplane that could replace all of these, that could fly at supersonic speeds, could take off and land from a carrier, and also, because the Marines are badasses, hover like a helicopter. And the X-35 is the plane that was designed by Lockheed Martin, and it was ultimately chosen. Now, to be fair, their competitor was Boeing, who hadn't developed an airplane since the they haven't developed an airplane since World War II, I think, and it showed. Their entry was a little number called the X-32, and I want to show you guys this plane. I'm posting in the group chat now. This is the X-32 that Boeing submitted to be our next generation fighter as soon as the thing sends. There it is.
Oh my god.
I mean, it's a meme. The plane is a meme.
It literally looks like a whale shark.
Out there, I'd like to fly.
It looks like a whale shark.
Yeah.
Yeah, you see, I get that a lot. I'm very insecure about my weight. I'm sorry.
And then on the contrast, you have the X-35, which let me get you guys the picture of that plane. Which is now the F-35 because ultimately won out. And keep in mind that the F-35 ultimately won out because it's a better plane overall. The X-32, looks aside, wasn't really that couldn't really quite function as well as the X-35 could in several respects. Which, it is what it is. Like, the whole reason the X-32 looks so ridiculous is because the plane is built around the concept of a delta wing, which is what the B-2 uses, what the F-117 uses. And the idea is that the delta wing is supposed to be lightweight and stealthy, but it's not exactly agile, which is why they had to put the engine near the front of the plane, hence the giant air intake that makes it look like a fucking hippopotamus. And why is my Discord so slow? What the hell? Why is it...
Long story short, they're trying to make an aircraft that replaces all the other aircrafts.
Yeah, so this is the I'm just posting the X-35 here in the chat here. That's, like I said, so this is the X-35.
Is this like a way for them to save money so they're not paying?
Actually, yeah, that is literally what this is. So here's the problem with the inherent problem with our fighter planes. First of all, our fighter planes are kind of obsolete the moment they take off for the first time. I mean, if you look at all these airplanes that the services have been using for years, the F-16, the F-18, the Harrier, these were planes that were built in the 80s, designed in the 70s to fly Cold War missions in the 60s. But more importantly, each new generation of planes costs more than the last. Like the F-22 Raptor, which is like the be-all, end-all airplane for the Air Force, that they were just, holy shit, this plane's amazing, we love it. Each Raptor costs like $1 billion, okay? It costs a lot of money. And so this phenomenon, which is called the death spiral, mandates that each generation of plane gets more expensive than the last one, so fewer of these planes are bought. And the running joke was that by the time you got to the year like 2039, the combined services of the military would only be able to afford one airplane that they'd have to share. The Air Force would get it in the morning, the Navy would get it in the evening, and the Marines would get it every leap year on the extra day.
This is a really, really convoluted method of dealing with the problem. They're going to fuck themselves.
Well, yeah, that's the whole thing. So the whole point of the F-35, the Joint Strike Fighter, is that it was supposed to create one airplane that could be used by all three services.
They can't get like an economist or a fucking businessman on their like budgeting and marketing team
No, they couldn't
to
because
negotiate prices. Like they couldn't do that.
no,
Yeah.
it could. So what? Okay, so here's what happened with the F-35. First of all, the X-35 worked. Okay, the plane worked, and the whole idea was that you would build this common airframe that you would swap out various parts for. Like, for example, the Navy version would need a slightly longer wingspan and a tail hook, and the Marine version would need the VTOL capabilities, and the Air Force would not need any of that stuff. It would just need so on and so forth.
Like
Well,
PCs and cars, right?
Yeah, basically, that was the idea. The problem was twofold. First of all, it turns out Lockheed Martin actually can't budget a project worth a damn. Like they nearly got disqualified because the X-35 ran over budget. And so it's not surprising that the actual production model, the F-35, has similarly gone over budget. But it's not entirely Lockheed Martin's fault. There's been a lot of red tape coming down from the government. I remember one incident where the Obama administration wanted Lockheed to use a certain kind of engine with the F-35, even though the engine they already had was perfectly fine to begin with. And
Why did they demand a different engine? Is there a reason for that?
something, competition marketplace, whatever. It was all kind of convoluted.
Oh,
and
my
then,
Lord.
of course, you had the fact that the F-35 is also being exported to other countries, which in theory should help, make the costs go down. The problem was each of those countries want their own version of the plane. So, Canada wants their own version that can operate in their weather. The Israelis want a version that is built entirely using Israeli-made electronics. The Aussies want a version that can drop torpedoes. So now you're basically building 20 kinds of airplanes instead of just one, which is the exact opposite you were going for here when you first started out this project.
It feels like when we establish a manufacturer, we should definitely exclusivize it to the U.S. because that's putting a huge workload on them.
Well, in theory, yes, but when it comes to our military stuff that we're constantly going to license out, we always license our military gear. Hell, Iran flies F-14s because we actually gave them to Iran. This was back when they kind of sort of still liked us. Now, granted, we've stopped since supplying parts for their F-14. But the fact that they're keeping them maintained means they're getting a black market supplier somewhere.
We really shouldn't be supplying people with state-of-the-art military technology and weaponry if we don't think we're going to stay allies with them.
Well, you never know. You never know. But now, in the interest of fairness, the F-35 itself had a lot of growing pains. The plane simply didn't work for a while, which is why its operational deployment was delayed until I think 2 or 3 years ago. But it works fine now. The plane works now. The problem is it's simply too expensive to really justify the entire endeavor in the first place, which really kind of sucks. But it is what it is. So when the Air Force says that this is a failure, they're not saying that the plane itself is a failure. The plane works. It's just that the entire purpose of making the plane, which is to make a next generation fighter for less cost than the Raptor and therefore break the Death style, that has failed spectacularly. And it's gotten to the point where the Air Force might be looking into purchasing off-the-shelf F-16s or just going with drones from here on out. Because they're simply, they've already stopped production of the Raptor because that was getting too expensive. Who knows how long they'll be able to keep this one in production. So
That's quite the mess.
Yeah, it's a fucking mess. And like I said, this whole program...
So, is there a specific reason why they can't hire an economist or a budgeter?
Because it's the government, and I imagine any economist or budgeter worth their salt who, hell, if they took a look at Lockheed Martin's budget, they would have
I get it. You mean like how the government is trying to pass fucking bills and legislation about the internet, which they understand nothing about, and call in a handful of experts instead of all the information they would need?
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
Why is everything fucking half-assed by these people?
Because that's just the way government bureaucracy works more often than not.
They just genuinely fucking half-ass it.
Mm-hmm.
This is why people think government's bad. Fuck.
Well,
yeah.
Anyways.
I don't know why, but it actually seems like fucking Europe's government runs more efficiently.
Barely.
I don't know.
At least they're not half-assing. At least the government's not half-assing COVID. I mean, we can talk. So we got that going for us.
Yeah. Like Europe has that going for them. They're just they did not half-ass COVID, and they don't.
They did not half-ass COVID. No.
And they don't seem to half-ass local budgets. They don't seem to. Why?
Well,
Why can't we do that?
Going broad strokes with Europe in general, there's different, things with different European.
I'll tell you what it is. It's not that their government's better. It's probably that their people are more politically active.
In a matter of speaking.
Listen. There are different political procedures from fucking the UK, from the UK to Italy to Bulgaria. There's different things going on.
Also, by all accounts, the UK fucked up COVID. Not as bad as we did, mind you, but yeah, they fucked it up.
The UK fucked up freedom of speech. The UK fucked up democracy. What haven't they fucked up? Name me one thing. They had Sargon of Akkad in their political party for a time.
Well, that's what they get for putting a guy.
That's just a failure in general.
Well, that's what they get for putting a crazy-ass fucking guy like Boris Johnson in charge of things. He's currently the prime minister, and if memory serves me, I think he kept banging people and getting kids out of the deal. So, well, he ran out of women, so obviously he has to go fuck the country.
And yet, when Boris Johnson got COVID, he decided to take it more seriously.
Yeah. Trump got COVID, and he did not decide to take it more seriously.
Because he didn't think it was because Boris didn't think it was a hoax. That's the thing.
Yeah.
No, Boris didn't.
All right.
All right.